TIFU by getting my best friend pregnant. Lovely people, subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss future videos. I am so grateful if you did. Now the story. I guess I should start from the beginning. My name is Jeroen, a name so Dutch it probably hurts to pronounce for anyone not from the Netherlands. Anyway, I've got this best friend, Maaike. We've known each other since we were kids, growing up in our little village where everyone knows everyone. Maaike and I have always been inseparable, partners in crime, and all that jazz. It was a Friday night, and Maaike and I had decided to hit the local bar, De Blauwiko. It's not much, but it's where everyone our age goes to unwind. We had a few drinks, okay, maybe more than a few. The night was filled with laughter, stupid jokes, and reminiscing about the good old days when our biggest worry was passing our high school exams. Somewhere between the third and fourth round of shots, we decided it would be a brilliant idea to crash a party happening in the next town over. Everyone knows that a spontaneous party hop is a recipe for disaster, but in our drunken state, it sounded like the adventure of a lifetime. We got there, and everything was a blur of loud music, unfamiliar faces, and more alcohol. Mike and I stuck together, dancing like idiots, and ignoring the fact that we were probably too old for this scene. I don't remember much from that night, but what I do remember is Mike looking at me with those sparkling eyes of hers, and suddenly, it felt like the most natural thing in the world to kiss her. It wasn't just a peck, it was passionate, a culmination of years of friendship and suppressed feelings. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, we were stumbling into a spare bedroom. I won't get into the details, but you get the picture. We woke up the next morning hungover and naked, realizing what we'd done. Maaike was the first to wake up. I opened my eyes to find her sitting at the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. I felt a knot in my stomach, a mix of regret and confusion. Maaike, I started, but she cut me off. Don't, she said softly. Let's just pretend it didn't happen. We awkwardly got dressed, avoiding each other's eyes. The car ride back was silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. When we got back to our village, we parted ways without saying much. For the next few days, I tried to act normal, but every time I saw Maaike, I felt this strange mix of guilt and something else I couldn't quite identify. A week later, Maaike called me and asked if we could meet at our favorite spot by the old windmill. It was our place, where we'd always gone to talk, laugh, and sometimes just sit in silence. When I got there, I saw her sitting on the grass, looking out at the fields. She turned to me with a look I'd never seen before, fear. Jeroen, I need to tell you something, she said, her voice trembling. I'm pregnant. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. Pregnant. My mind raced through a million thoughts at once, none of them coherent. Mike looked at me, waiting for a reaction, but I was too stunned to say anything. Say something, please, she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. How? I mean, we only once, I stammered. I know, but it happened, she replied. What are we going to do? We sat there for what felt like hours, trying to process the situation. It was a mess. Maaike was scared, and I was terrified. We were just friends who had made a huge mistake, and now we were facing a life-changing consequence. I'll be there for you, whatever you decide, I finally managed to say. It sounded hollow, even to me, but I meant it. I couldn't just abandon her. Maaike nodded, wiping away her tears. I need time to think. We both do. Over the next few weeks, we tried to act normal, but it was impossible. Our friends noticed the change, but we brushed off their questions with lame excuses. One night, Maaike called me in a panic. Her parents had found out. They were furious, and understandably so. They demanded to know who the father was, and she had no choice but to tell them. Maaike's parents were traditional, to put it mildly. When I showed up at their house, her father, Hendrik, gave me a look that could kill. We sat down in their living room, the atmosphere more tense than I'd ever experienced. Jeroen, Hendrik started, his voice cold. What exactly are your intentions? I took a deep breath. I want to support Maaike and the baby. Whatever she decides, I'm here for her. Her mother, Annalise, shook her head. This is not how we imagined Mike's future. You two were supposed to be friends, nothing more. I know, and I'm sorry. We made a mistake, but we have to deal with it now, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Hendrik's eyes softened slightly. You're young. Have you thought this through? We are still thinking it through, Mike replied. But whatever happens, we'll face it together. After what felt like an eternity, they agreed to give us some space to figure things out. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions and decisions. Maik and I spent a lot of time talking, trying to figure out what was best for us and the baby. After countless conversations, tears, and sleepless nights, Maik made her decision. She wanted to keep the baby. I was scared, but also determined to be there for her. We told our friends, who were shocked but supportive. We started planning for the future, making arrangements and trying to adjust to the idea of becoming parents. It wasn't easy. There were days when it felt like the world was against us, but we held on to each other. Months passed, and as Maika's belly grew, so did our bond. We moved in together, found jobs that would support us, and started preparing for our new life. It was a rocky road, but we were determined to make it work. When the day finally came and Maika gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, all the fear and uncertainty melted away. We named her Lottie, and in that moment I knew that despite everything, we were going to be okay. Looking back, I realized that night at the party changed everything. It was a massive fuck-up, no doubt, but it led to something beautiful. Mike and I are still figuring things out, but we're doing it together. And as I hold Lotta in my arms, I know that whatever happens, we'll face it as a family.